Hello, can you guys hear me? How is it? Is it working? Okay, it looks like it's in this mode. I thought it was in horizontal. Ha. Oh well. Okay, I need to just sort out my setup here then. Hey Evelyn, thanks. You can hear me. Good. Good. Let me just make some plans here. Alright, that appears to be working. I don't know why YouTube made it vertical. I asked it to make it horizontal, but you know, that's life. Cool. Well, how's it going? Who's here? I can't see. Alrighty, well, if there's anybody here, you're welcome to pop questions in the chat box. Yeah, shoot away. You can share anything, you can ask anything, you can tell us something. I need your help to make this live stream interesting. The live setup has changed a little bit. I've got to get used to it. So my go-to, if nobody has any questions, is always just to invite a little bit of a meditation exploration. So if you're watching this and you don't have any questions, then always just turn a little bit of your attention into your own experience. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? And then just kind of see where your attention goes. You want to shift attention into the body a little bit. So you're not, when you say, what am I feeling now? It's not to get a thought answer. If a thought answer comes up, that's fine. But the more kind of work that yields results is feeling into your direct experience, feeling into the sensations. So do that. I mean, it's so powerful to just shift your attention a little bit more into the body, right? These small shifts of attention out of a thought-based reality, out of past and future, out of narratives, have much bigger effects than we realize, right? The mind is always thinking, I need to go and meditate for hours. I need to go and do hours of practice. And sure, that can be helpful, but just checking in retraining your kind of the way your attention works to just check into your body sensations every now and then see, maybe we're very bound up in thought. Maybe we're very easily pulled back into the thought world, right? Into your mind's narrative. So if that's the case, then that's good. That's good to be aware of that. It's good to see that, right? That's the only way you see it is through practice and exploration and experimentation, right? What happens if I try to shift my attention out of thoughts? Where does it go? So at any moment, right, just open up. If it's a physical symptom in your body, what is that like, right? Besides the label of a symptom, besides the story of it, besides the problem with it, the mind saying it's too intense, I don't like it, right? What's underneath that? Cool. Evelyn's got some questions. Okay, so the question: the more soft and myself I become, the more I notice how unsafe I feel around my mom. Childhood patterns being active, and she lives at such a high pace, which stresses me out. How do you deal with family struggles? How to go from being triggered there to actually being able to have a good time together? Because I just want to have a good connection, of course. That's a really good question. I like that, and I think there's a lot of aspects there. Of course, here's the thing, like family members are always generally going to be the most triggering because both sides has so much conditioning, right? So you have so much conditioning about your mom and your mom has so much conditioning about you. So then when you guys are together, you're all going to be triggering each other, right? Because there's so much history there. So that's one thing, but it can be good as well because it's going to bring up things you don't want to feel, right? It's going to challenge your, and it's about the balance of, like for me, from my own experience, it's about the balance of meeting somebody else in what's authentic for them, but staying authentic in yourself. And the only way that we get the practice to learn this is through these kinds of experiences, right? So for me, it's kind of shifted how it feels to be around my family, and it continuously shifts, right? It depends on what's coming up in their lives and it depends on what's coming up in my life. But there's both aspects, right? For me, there's the connection aspect deepens as this path deepens for us. Like, it's interesting. There's been times where I've felt a lack of connection between me and my family because similar as well, like my parents would be a lot more living in a faster paced, thought-based reality. And very heady, very interested in talk, whereas I'm more interested in like the deeper emotional stuff. And then it's difficult when somebody's not in that same space as you. But at the same time, it's like good integration work because it's like, this is the reality we find ourselves in where everybody's at a different kind of level, and it's, and there's still ways to connect, but it's going to challenge you, right? And it's fine as well to, I've played with both sides of it, right? There's been periods when I've been too kind of in my own space and not making an effort. But at the same time, it's also been good to kind of honor my own differences, right? That I like to spend more time kind of alone and meditating or going for a walk in nature and just kind of a little bit more stillness in my life. So when I give myself that, then when I'm spending time around family, it's easier because I'm honoring what I want, but I'm also making an effort to connect. I don't know if that helps, but I do feel like it's that balance, right? Because you really can connect, and at the same time, like in conversations, you can just like rest more in your own experience. Again, when the thoughts want to pull up into a judgment about the relationship, right? So if I'm having a conversation with my dad, perhaps my thoughts might be wanting to analyze the conversation, but I can also at the same time feel a little bit more into the body, feel a little bit more into the experience of me, and that feels more grounded. And then I don't come away from the conversation feeling like, oh, that was so triggering. But yeah, it's a balance, right? And you learn it through experience. That's my experience of it. So let me know if that answers what you were If that has anything helpful, if you have any follow-up questions, because it's a big part of this journey for sure. Another big thing is authenticity and vulnerability. Vulnerability, I think, is the key thing with family as well, because we become quite afraid to be vulnerable because it's quite intimate connection with a family member, right? Even if on the surface level there's all these problems and differences between us. But that's what's changed for me over time, is my connections with family members have become more vulnerable. But it doesn't change like this. It's just realizing when there's a problem coming up for me, and then there's the natural tendency of, oh, I don't want to talk about this, I don't want to expose myself like this. But then when I'm vulnerable and say, like, look, this is what I'm feeling, this is, whatever it is, just like I want to connect with you or something like that, being kind of honest and vulnerable, that helps to deepen the connection as well, even if it's maybe challenging at first or triggering at first or brings up something you don't want to feel, right? I think that's one of the biggest things, is we're afraid of being really honest and vulnerable. But then you also have to be willing to hear the other person as well, right? Being vulnerable is an invitation for the other person to also be vulnerable. And maybe they won't, you don't know how they will respond, but that's something for me that's been very powerful, is vulnerability. Yeah. Hey, mate, I don't know how to say your name, but I love your YouTube comments always. I appreciate them. You got such a nice, I don't know, I love your comments. How are you doing? I'm going to turn off my fan because it's bothering me. That's better. All right, any other questions? Kingpin Gaming, hello, welcome. Where is everybody based in the world? Create a poll. Ask a question. Do you enjoy Cool. I just posted a poll. I don't know how that shows up, but that looks fun. Mike T, greetings from Laguna Beach, California. Greetings, Mike. Evelyn, yes, that helps. Guess it's also just good to remember it's okay that these relationships aren't going to be harmonious all the time. That's so that's such a big part of it. I agree. I think that's the thing, right? The mind has an idea of how the relationship's supposed to be. Like, oh, it's going to be, there's going to be a nice deep connection, and that's true. But the whole point of relationship as well is that it's a way that we kind of open things up in ourselves in both sides, because it's two different people with different sets of conditioning and different paths of being authentic as well. Like what's truly authentic for you is not going to be the same for anybody else you're in a relationship with. Sure, it can align more and more, but yeah, it's always gonna, and that's the good part of relationship, that it's always gonna bring stuff up. So actually reminding yourself that if it's bringing stuff up, that's good. That's the juice of relationships, right? That's the power of it. That's how it's giving you something. That's the gift of relationship. I noticed that myself this year. There was many things I had I've been triggered that I wouldn't have seen by myself if it wasn't for somebody else, getting close with somebody else, to help me see that. And that was a gift, even if it was very challenging for a while. So, yeah, that's a good point. That's an important aspect of it. Aaron Kelly, good morning from New York, Kyle. Long time no see. I remember when I first joined your channel, you had about 300, 400 subscribers, and look at you now. I love your success. Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, I remember you, one of the early viewers. How are you doing now? It's nice to see you here again. And your words still resonate with me so well. I'm really glad to hear that. Kingpin Gaming, I'm vaccine injured. Any advice? People keep saying it's a form of long COVID. Yeah, so vaccine injury, I mean, I would say the way it works is the same as long COVID and chronic fatigue syndrome. Honestly, for me, the focus is always about the nervous system. When you initially get sick, it can, you'll go through your own process, but the mind can very easily get fixated on COVID or vaccines and then go down these pathways all about vaccines. And, if that's what somebody wants to explore, go for it. But the fact that you're on this channel, right, my approach is much more mind, body, nervous system work, which is kind of like Aaron says, many of my past videos, if you go look under like my chronic fatigue syndrome long COVID playlist, it's all about how to work with your symptoms in a way that's using mind body healing techniques to help you heal, right? And the first big important shift is realizing that you can heal, but you have to not focus too much on vaccines or COVID or chronic fatigue syndrome. That's my approach. Oh wait, how does this poll work? I can't see it. 83% of people like to meditate. Fair enough. I mean, when I first started meditating, there were times when I definitely didn't. The funny thing for me with meditation is I always come away from it feeling like it's been beneficial. I don't think I've ever meditated and then said, damn, I wish I hadn't meditated. But the struggle, it's not a struggle anymore nowadays. Meditation is like one of my favorite things to do. But going back earlier on my journey, the struggle was beforehand, right? When you want to distract or do something that's easier than sitting and facing your experience, then the mind can be like, oh no, I don't want to meditate. But actually meditating and then afterwards, I've never been like, oh, I wish I hadn't meditated. Even if it's a very uncomfortable sit or experience to go into the body or to observe the mind, it's never a bad thing on the other side, right? It can be destabilizing sometimes. I'm thinking somebody was talking about alcohol and sobriety, Tom Holland, the British actor, Spider-Man, and he said something very clever or that I really liked. He was like, you never wake up the next morning saying, I wish I'd had a drink last night. He's talking about how he became sober. I feel like that the same applies to meditation, right? Beforehand, you might have some resistance to meditation, but you never, after it's like, oh, I wish I'd meditated less. I mean, maybe sometimes it can be destabilizing and bring up stuff, so sure. But, yeah, I mean, I'd say it's the same as the alcohol thing. All right, let's see. What have we got here? Yeah, Kingpin. Yeah, I've watched most of his videos. It's been helpful, but I keep reading all this new scary research and it makes me scared. I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, I want to quickly read what Kingpin's saying. Thank you. Yeah, so the big part of this is working through fear, right? So if things are triggering your fear, that's okay. Obviously, focusing on fear, like things that are going to increase your fear, is going to make that more of your reality of living in fear. So like that's where the shift out of, but it's an addiction as well, right? We're addicted to stress and fear, right? This is why people keep going back into forums, even if they realize it's not healthy for them. Why people will keep reading research, even if they realize it's not healthy for them. And it's fine. I'm not saying this out of judgment, right? We all have to go through our own processes, but the more you work with your own fears in an open, in an allowing way, right? So I'm not saying fear is bad. See what is the experience of fear, right? What's underneath that? What are you afraid of? Because that's where this process goes, right? We have to work through all of those health related fears and shift your focus as well. Like, shift your focus onto more empowering stuff, honestly, because you can heal. But there's variety of opinions on the internet, right? There's people that will say that you can't heal, and there's people that will say that, oh, you have to wait for a medical breakthrough to heal. And if you make that your main focus, and that's obviously going to get kind of conditioned into your system, and it's going to affect the way you think. But if you focus on people who are talking about recovery, and it's great. I mean, you hear this is what I talk about, and I'm sure you follow other people. But the more that you focus your attention on that, the more you're going to change your own beliefs, right? Okay, Aaron, I'm doing much better, thank you. The mind-body approach, lots of meditation, and continuing on my awakening journey have all helped immensely. Love it. Love it. So I'm just responding to your comment there, Kingpin. Like, I understand your fear. You found me through Reddit. Well, there we go. At least Reddit's doing something good. But it's constantly bad news. But it's not, right? It depends on where you're looking, right? If you follow Red and Nagel and you make that like your main source of recovery information, it's not bad news. There's plenty of incredible recovery stories there. So you have to see where your mind is being pulled. Like I said, fear and stress are addictive, right? We go onto these forums and get pulled into fear and stress-based stories because our mind's addicted to that. But if you make an effort and say, I need to cut out that pathway because it's not helping me, that's what I had to do. I saw this in myself, and it's not easy, and we will kind of get pulled in. But this is the kind of brain retraining mind-body approach, is you got to be like, what is fueling my stuckness? And it's like these kinds of things. And until I was like, okay, wow, there's so many people that can heal, I'm going to make that the main focus for me. So yeah, I mean, it's not constantly bad news, but if you look in the wrong places, then that's the perception you'll create for yourself. So yeah. 89% of people are enjoying meditation. Let's go. It's going up. I can't see the number of votes here, which is annoying, but that's a fun thing to have. All right, any other questions? Can I start another poll? No. Erin and Raylan's channel and the recovery stories she share are very helpful. I agree. Raylan's a legend, man. She's changed the space so much. How do you know if it is a nervous system problem and rule out other things? Well, there's going to be different ways. I mean, for me, I went to the doctor and I went and had a bunch of checks and they didn't find anything, right? But obviously that can be an endless path, right? So at some point you have to decide that you want to take a different route. I went for blood tests, I went for this, I went for that. They couldn't pick anything up, and that was very frustrating. But eventually I was like, okay, I'm not following that route anymore. But you can make that an endless route. Like, people can go to cardiologists, people can go to neurologists, people can go to this, that, study your stomach, right? And maybe you yield results. But the cool thing is you can heal with mind-body healing techniques as well, right? Even if it is a physical problem. This is my approach nowadays. I was feeling sick again recently and I was deciding whether I wanted to go to the doctor or not. And again, I'm not saying like never go to the doctor again. It's your choice. I'm just sharing my approach to things. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I feel like I'm wasting money on doctors. And I just focused on like mind body healing approaches, and it worked for me. So yeah, there's always going to be some doubt, right? That's the mind, right? Your mind's going to be saying, oh no, but maybe it's something else. Again, I'm not telling anybody how to approach this, but you know, you can hear somebody like me saying, hey, you can work with your nervous system, you can heal. And another thing I would say is read books about mind body healing. That's what was important for me, right? I had to really fuel myself with enough kind of research and stuff around mind body healing to that's why now I have absolutely zero doubt talking about this stuff, because I kind of I got the resources that I needed at that time when I was very much seeing things through an intellectual, rational lens. And then you see it from your own direct experience, right? Then for me, sorry, I get distracted by the comments. Now it's not about research anymore. It's about seeing the results in myself, having seen the results in myself, and then you know it's legit. Alrighty. Yes, mate. I wish I knew how to say your name. Are you studying astrology? Yes, I'm glad you asked about astrology. I was literally going to make a poll now about astrology to see if anybody had any astrology questions. I'm just reading a lot of books about astrology. I find it fascinating, and it's like it's such a vast field as well, right? The more I read about it, the more you want to read about it, you know? So yeah, I'm reading a couple of books, but I often have like 3 or 4 books on the burner at once, so I bounce around. But yeah, I'd love to learn more from Maggie, because she's really good astrologer. David Person, is the awakening process healing in and of itself, would you say? Also, what's your top books for long COVID healing or healing in general from chronic diseases? Good question. I like that. I was actually going to make a video about this. I'll see, maybe, about the relationship between awakening and healing. I would say yes and no, right? Awakening can be very powerful in the healing journey, and I do feel like they're very much intertwined. But there's different aspects of it, right? So I feel like somebody who just follows the awakening, you know, like non-dual kind of self-inquiry practices with no understanding of mind-body healing, you can still struggle with mind-body illness as well. You can struggle with physical illness. For me, it's been about merging the two together. So it's like awakening can help you break free from mental identification, which will fuel illness, right? Being identified with stress-based thoughts fuels our physical illness. But you might not realize the extent of mind-body healing without kind of studying mind-body healing approaches alongside that, if that makes sense. So for me, like awakening and healing coincided. Like I was using the mind-body healing techniques alongside with self-inquiry and meditation, and I had my first awakening where I realized I wasn't my thoughts, and but like a complete dropping away of identification with thought, and that led to freedom from the illness as well. But then later on, when stress came up in my life again, then it was helpful to have an understanding of mind-body healing to work through what was coming up, if that makes sense. And then my top books for long COVID healing, or healing in general from chronic illnesses, I mean, some of my favorites are, I love Joe Dispenza's work, right? So recently I've been reading his book, Becoming Supernatural, which is great. It's a bit more on the mystical, esoteric side. So I would recommend starting with one of his books, like You Are the Placebo, or yeah, I think that's a good one. What else have I read? I mean, I read How Your Mind Can Heal Your Body by, I think it was David Hamilton or whatever. That was really helpful in just, mind-body healing, right? Making me realize the research, the science behind mind-body healing. And then I haven't read their work, but I know enough about them that Gabor Mate and Bessel van der Kolk have a lot of good stuff about trauma and mind body healing. But yeah, I love Joe Dispenza as well. I love Joe Dispenza because, I mean, he's got such a great story himself where he broke his spine and he healed. So like, it doesn't matter if your illness is like psychosomatic. Everything's psychosomatic in the end. But like your illness can come from physical causes, but you can still heal from mind body healing. That's the thing, right? So going back to what Kingpin asked me earlier, it's like, how do you know that it's a nervous system related issue? It doesn't actually matter because you can heal through mind body healing. Mike T. I started my healing process when I closed my thoughts off and listened to the wind and visually seeing my DNA unzip and zip back up healed. I love that. That's such a great approach, right? This is the kind of thing, right? This like you can find your own technique, and it can work. Kingpin said, did you have to create your own mind body technique, or did you look through different ones and found one that helped you? Yeah, so I did a DNRS brain retraining course, which is specifically designed to help people heal from like chronic fatigue syndrome and other mind body illnesses. And at the time I needed that. I needed a commitment to somebody else's research and kind of course. That's what made me commit to the work. And then you find what works from you from there, right? So I was practicing that daily for like a month, and you get into the feeling of it, and then you just start to just make little nuances. And now I would say that was like 2.5 years ago. Now I would say if I find myself struggling with anything, then I just use my own approaches, or I listen to a meditation that kind of helps me get somebody else's perspective as well. So you can mix and match, but it is helpful to start with somebody that has a process already, but you can definitely find your own. It's both. Read. It's hard not to make healing my soul focus. It comes from a space of wanting to feel better, but it can fuel a hypervigilance. Any tips on finding balance in that process and not overdoing it? So I would say leverage that, man. Again, the mind can turn anything into a problem, or it can use it in its favor. So make healing your soul focus, right? Yeah, it can become a hypervigilance, but use it in a positive way, right? This is what I did. I was like, everything I'm doing is supporting my healing, right? I would drink some water and I would be like, wow, this water is helping my body heal. I would eat some food. Like you can make this healing your soul focus in a positive way, right? But the thought can come in and say like, oh no, this is becoming a hypervigilance. That's not healthy. But if it's like an empowering thing, which again, we can train into ourselves, where I'm like, everything I'm doing is making me heal. Going for a walk right now and I'm feeling like a burning in my legs, that's healing me, right? I would go cycling and I would feel, some pain as I climbed up a hill. Like again, this was like 2 years ago when I was kind of doing the most healing. I just made everything about healing. So I don't think there's a problem with that. Sure, you can do it from a stress-based state, but you can also not. But yeah, honestly, leverage it. It's great. .92% people like meditating. Nice. Okay, I'm going to do a new poll. 13 votes. There we go. Well done. Nice. Wow, 100% of people like astrology. That's insane. Oh, it's down to 75%. Oh, it's down to 50%. All right. Sonia asks, how do you stop your mind from wandering off while meditating? It's a good question because it's something we all encounter when we meditate. So I would say, first thing is don't fight with your mind, right? Like a big thing that helped me with this was to not get into such a right, because what happens is a thought fights with a thought, right? So the mind is wandering a lot, and then a thought says, oh, my mind's wandering too much, and then we start to get frustrated, right? And then that becomes the focus of our meditation. But basically, in those moments where you realize that your mind has wandered, that's actually where your awareness has kicked in, right? So just train like a gratitude response there. Because it's actually positive reinforcement then for the part of your mind that noticed your thoughts are wandering. So it does help to have, if our minds are wandering a lot, it does help to have a focus in meditation. So like for me, I started with following the sensations of my breath at the entrance to my nose. And then you'll notice when your mind is wandering, right? You'll notice next thing you're thinking about the work project that you have or your money problems. But then at some point, some part of you notices, shit, my mind's wandering, I'm supposed to be meditating. And then you can be like, oh, cool. I just broke free of my unconscious thinking, right? So train like a positive response there. Like, well done, mind. Well done to the part of me that noticed that. Now, and so like make this like a little bit of a practice, right? Then be like, okay, cool. I'm going to go back to the sensations of breathing, and I'm going to see how long I can explore them for, right? And make it interesting, right? Don't make it like a chore. Make it like, wow, this is how I would go deeper and deeper. Be like, wow, the more that I stay with the sensations of breathing, the subtler they get, right? The more depth and kind of experience there is in just this tiny sensations over here as you're taking an in-breath. But if you're struggling to notice those sensations, then you could just count with your breaths, right? You could go 1 in your mind, right? This is what I also would do, like breath counting. So after every out breath, I would count 1, 2, all the way to 10. Because stopping at 10 and then you start back at 1 is a great way to also notice if your mind's wandering. Because the next thing you're like 13, 14. You're like, wait, why the fuck am I in the teens? Oh shit, my mind wandered again. Cool, I noticed that. I caught my mind wandering before I got to 100. And then you go back. And it really, your concentration builds quite quickly with daily practice. So that's one approach, right? Let me know if that's helpful. Another thing is to, just let the mind produce thoughts and not have an attachment to the thoughts themselves. You can also see that often what's driving the thinking is the resistance to thinking itself, right? So this is more like an open awareness technique where you can just be like, okay, the thoughts can say whatever they want. And then you notice what's the next thought that comes up. And then you notice when you get entangled in thoughts, and that's absolutely fine, because at some point you're going to notice you're not. And again, you want to train that response. I woke up. I woke up from the dream of thinking. Let me know if that's helpful. And what kind of meditation are you practicing? Kingpin gaming. It's weird because when I try and relax to meditate, or relax is when my symptoms worsen. I can lift weights and go for walks without symptoms, but when I get to busy areas alone, I start feeling bad. Yeah, I can understand that. So often it's like our fears will start to come up when we're not distracted with something. So it's fine to keep yourself, like it's fine to keep yourself busy, or like do things that you enjoy, like lifting weights and going for walks and enjoying that. And that's cool. And then when your things do come up, right? When you're alone and then this all comes up, oh, no, I'm alone. Now the symptoms come, right? Notice that this is when your fears come up. This is when you get triggered. So it's a good space to work in, right? It's a good space to explore. What am I afraid of feeling now when I'm alone? Right? How can I retrain my mind here, right? So that when something comes up, you can allow it. Oh, that's allowed to be here. It's okay. That's not a problem. I don't have to fight against that, whether it's a symptom. And then you see the mind saying, oh no, I'm alone now. Now I'm having symptoms. I'm afraid. But as soon as you start to allow, it shifts, right? It's like, it might take some practice because resistance, maybe more resistance will come up, right? You're like, okay, I'm going to allow. And then as you're allowing, more resistance comes up. That's fine, but just keep allowing, right? Oh, okay, now there's more fear. Oh, okay, now there's more resistance. But you're going to see your own fear, right? So it doesn't mean that you're not going to experience fear, but you just start to see that it's not a problem, right? It's not something we actually have to run from, which is what the mind believes. You're welcome, Sonia. What we resist definitely persists. Indeed. You can't run from anything. You really can't avoid anything. It'll always come back around at some point, right? Whether that's something practical that needs to be addressed, whether that's something in your mind that you're avoiding, just dive in. Just dive in. Don't worry what the mind is saying. .66 67% of people think astrology is cool. Evelyn, what's your sun, moon, ascendant in astrology? Mine is Pisces sun, Capricorn moon, and Taurus ascendant. So the Pisces sun makes a lot of sense with all the interest in meditation and esoteric things. My Capricorn moon makes me quite like emotionally reserved in social situations, and also it gives me this like strong drive. I mean, there's a lot of other aspects as well. I have a lot of planets in Aquarius as well, which makes me very much wanting to do some things to assist humanity. And my Taurus ascendant makes me want to have a bit more money so I can enjoy the nice things in life. What is if anybody else wants to share their big three of astrology, that could be fun. Kingpin, thank you guys. Honestly, you guys are amazing. Sorry for so many questions. Everybody else around me is not being helpful. No worries, man. I'm so glad this stuff's been helpful. This is kind of why I said, like the fact that you're here Uh-oh, we're going down on the astrology interest. It's down to 55%. Um, what was I saying? Oh yeah, but the fact that you're just here exposing yourself, right, to a different like group of people than maybe like all the negative people on Reddit, and you can see it's helpful. That's a great kind of step that you're shifting more into that kind of healing mindset, even if your mind is still fighting with it. So yeah, well done for showing up, and asking questions is great, because there's also like we can often be afraid to expose ourselves, right? Like these are my fears, so I don't want to ask questions, but the fact that you're honest is great. Aaron says, I feel like the more I just allowed the symptoms, sensations to be there, the more they would just fade away. It can be scary at first to let go of control, but that's where you'll find freedom. Spot on. I agree 100%. Yeah, it will bring up fears often, because that's exactly where fear is hiding, is behind letting go and allowing, right? So then fear will come up next. Nexi is not a fan of astrology. I used to be the same, man, until I started reading more, and I was like, oh my gosh, who wrote a book about me? That's crazy. Bronbrack, welcome. How are you doing? Eveline is a sun in Cancer, Scorpio moon, Pisces ascendant. Wow, that's a lot of water. I love it. Makes sense that you're here. Yeah, I have a lot of friends in Cancer. Damn, but that is, yeah, sun, moon, and ascendant, all water. That's cool. Scorpio season as well. Wish you lots of money. Thank you. Mate, I think you're Pisces as well, aren't you? There we go. Pisces sun, Virgo moon, Gemini ascendant with Saturn. Interesting. Pisces sun, Virgo moon. My parents are both Virgo. And the Pisces Virgo different world views is quite interesting. But yeah, it's nice to meet a fellow Pisces sun. Kingpin says, I had symptoms quite bad the other night, and that day you made the meditation video, and I used headphones in bed, and honestly 3 minutes into them I actually stopped, but they just come back after a while. That's great, man. I'm glad the meditation was helpful. I'd love to hear that. And yeah, I mean, it's going to fluctuate, obviously, but in those moments, you're literally retraining your mind the way it works. So it can go up and down for a while, but it's going in the right direction. Barrak, I hear you're a drugs man these days. I love it. I love it. Yeah. I dabble. Yeah. Yeah, my favorite is LSD or psilocybin. That's about it. But I mean, I would be open to. I mean, I would love to do like an ayahuasca ceremony, and I want to do an ibogaine ceremony as well. That would be fun. See what it brings up. I find it helpful for opening things up in the psyche. I find it like, yeah, it's a great tool, but obviously, like everything, it comes with its pros and cons. Can be destabilizing for sure. I've often felt like I'm going insane, but I get that from meditation as well. So the mushroom is key, right? The mushroom has answers. Erin says she watches one of my meditation videos every day. I love it. What's your favorite one, Erin? I'm curious. I've been having a bunch of issues lately. Controller, unfaded nervous system, meditating more recently, trying to use social media as much. Probably trying not to use social media as much. Yeah, cutting down on like distraction is always so helpful, because it can just overstimulate your nervous system, right? I went and played a hockey match yesterday and I cycled home, and just the difference between cycling home or like driving home in the car, it was so much more calming cycling home. And that's when I realized, like, oh, it's so nice to just find myself in these spaces where I'm disconnected from technology. So yeah, man, like walks in nature and all that stuff's beautiful. Better than the prescription stuff, right? I agree, Bonbrack. Yeah, because also it's like, just on that point of the better than the prescription stuff, right? It's more of like a tool to bring stuff up and help you heal than like a crutch to keep things hidden, right? Obviously, there's different drugs, all of that, but there's ones that can be very helpful. Yeah. It's the second one that comes up on the meditation playlist. I believe it's about letting go. I just love that one. Nice. It's funny, I sometimes use those meditations myself. Because when I'm doing them, right, it's just something that kind of takes over. And then what's also nice is, like, for myself, it's also a lot of my favorite pointers that I'm using in the meditation. So then sometimes if I feel like I need a good letting go meditation, I'll go listen to one of my own. It sounds a bit funny, but it's actually really helpful because it's like perfectly tailored to my interests. David, as a somewhat experienced psychonaut myself, I wonder what you think about medium large doses of psychedelics for long COVID healing, the potential setbacks. Great question. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with medium to large doses. Obviously, the risk of a destabilizing experience is higher, but I also feel like it's the same with like meditation, right? It's going to bring up more of your root things to work through. So it always depends on how much like someone's willing to feel into, if that makes sense. So there's obvious, and here's the thing, right? It can also bring up a lot of physical stuff for the nervous system to process, right? So I did a large LSD trip a couple of months back, and it was powerful for me compared to like a microdose because it went a lot deeper, right? It brought up a lot more. I mean, it was a beautiful experience. So much love, so much beauty in the trip itself. But then in the weeks afterwards, my nervous system was very sensitive, very easily feeling a lot from social situations and stuff. So it can bring up a lot, but in the long run, I still feel like it's good. But it's just important to realize, right, like what's the setbacks is that you can feel physically like you've had a setback for a while, but it's like a nervous system adjustment phase from my experience. So again, with this kind of stuff, it's always what somebody wants to explore for themselves, and it can put you in a challenging state for a while afterwards. But overall, for me, it always leads to benefits in my psyche, in my letting go, breaking through. It's so helpful for me if I feel like I'm stuck in a rut with something, to like shift into something else. Yeah. If you have any other questions, let me know. I like talking about it. It's fun. I had a question though. I really enjoy competitive gaming in my spare time. I feel this might cause some nerves, but I don't want to let it of an interest. Maybe I just have to learn to control the fear instead of let it go completely. Yeah, I mean, in competitive gaming, I can feel this can definitely be like quite stimulating for the nervous system. I used to play like FIFA in my spare time, and playing like really competitively was pretty triggering. So, I mean, there's just that to be aware of. I think it's always balance, right? Go for a walk afterwards, and a decision in yourself of whether it's worth it, you know? Only you can know that. Like for me, also recently I was trading stocks and a part of me enjoyed it, but it was causing too much stress in my life. And eventually I was like, I know that this is not great for me. And stopping was great. It freed up so much energy and attention for other things. So yeah, I guess that's my perspective. Health channel. Does part of you not feel like there's an element of missing out on life compared to other people your age? Like you're only young once type of thing? Yeah, I know what you mean. And I went through that phase when I was initially sick with so much like unfairness and FOMO and all of that. But honestly, having kind of lived back in that world again, right? So once I healed, then it was just like re-engaging in all of the other things my friends were doing. And it just did not have the same. I mean, sure, it's been fun. There's been nice times and it's nice to engage in it. But at the same time, it, a lot of the time I just prefer to like meditate or read a book. Whereas in the past, I really used to love going out. So, you know, I feel like when you start to go on a deeper path yourself, initially there'll be resistance. Initially there'll be something that's fighting it and that wants to compare. But then I would spend enough time with other people my age and them being very caught up in their minds or something. Like obviously I'm not trying to judge other people, but just from my own experience, it's not really missing out on anything. I'll still hang out with people. Like I go to the gym and all of that. But there was a phase where I was completely alone and it was good. I had to process all of these things of losing my identity of who I was in my peer group, right? I dropped out of university and all my other friends went and finished their degrees and stuff. And I was like one of the best academically in my year. I was like, that was a lot of ego that had to be dissolved there. Feeling like I'm falling behind, but it was all just things to let go of. And then on the other side, there was a gift in that I found a much more authentic path. I recommend fasting for as long as you can, ideally 24 hours, even more if you're used to fasting. Before. I haven't done a 24-hour plus fast. Maybe one day. I do a little bit of it. I mean, I've done some, like 18 hours or something like that. Aaron, interesting. I feel like he's living life to the fullest and not missing out on anything, but I'll let him answer that. Yeah, that was a good. It's a good point because it's like, yeah, I thought you meant before psilocybin. Yeah, it's like I completely went back to living life to the fullest, like even fuller than before I was sick. But then at the same time, it was realizing that I didn't want to completely live that life. It was important for me to still meditate, and so it's like finding balance, I suppose. But I did want to experience it all again, and then you just find your natural balance, I suppose. Did you start trading stocks again? I did start, and then I stopped. And stopping, both times I've stopped trading stocks, it was the best decision of my life. Just personally, for me. Who knows, you know? But yeah. 54% of people like astrology. We're going in the wrong direction, guys. Before psilocybin, I mean. Yeah, that's interesting. I have I've done a little bit of fasting before psychedelic trip, and yeah, I definitely feel the effects more. It'd be interesting to try a 24-hour fast. I get, yeah. this body often gets, I was going to say like struggles with low blood sugar, but that's more when I was trading stocks, and then I would get stressed, and then I would need a lot more food. But yeah, it's not so bad otherwise. Kingpin, I hope I don't get too personal, Carl, but curious if you had the V, and what did you feel like after, or how do you feel about it now? I'm always in such regret. You can't change anything that's happened. I had the vaccine twice, and whatever, I still had symptoms afterwards, but I was already sick, so I was like, fuck it, I'll try it. 7 grams of silly in the veil will definitely raise. I like that. I like that. Yeah, I mean, look, the mind will say all these things, like it could, like in my case, it was COVID that triggered all of this initially, but you have to see how it's like it has its own gift in it, right? You're learning so much about the nervous system. You're learning so much about your own mental and physical health. Yeah, of course, the feeling of regret can come up, and you can hold space for that. You can allow it. You can have compassion for yourself. But actively, I don't regret anything. Because you're always going to do what you did in the moment, right? You can choose a different path after that, but yeah, there's no point fighting with yourself about what you've already done. I started sports betting during being ill, and I feel like how you talk about trading stocks, even though what I was doing was way unhealthier. I mean, it's pretty similar, I suppose. I was doing like very risky trading as well, so it's pretty much gambling, except I was telling myself it wasn't. And I agree, man. It's like, it's not good for the nervous system. It puts you in a hyper stress state, right? This is what I realized for myself, was like, you're triggering the stress, like as you're losing money, that your body might be used to receiving in a very short dose evolutionary. Like if we're being chased by a lion, right, your system would turn on a stress response to deal with that, and then you would shift out of that once the threat is gone. But with all of this online stuff, right, whether it's gaming or trading or whatever, we can keep ourselves in these hyper aroused states of stress for very long periods of time, and that's what is going to shift you into chronic illness. That's why meditation and similar things are so important, because we need to give ourselves a shift out of that stimulated state. Right, even if I'm doing a lot of exercise, cycling is nice because I'm out in nature. But like hockey is super stimulating because it's like so many people, such a fast-paced game, and it's really nice to have like de-stimulated time after that. Do you hear anybody else have adrenal fatigue, CFS? Hey, Nina. I think many people do. Let's go. We're getting a lot of emojis. Let me join the party. 100, 100, 100, 100. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, I had chronic fatigue syndrome. Back. I like the way people can't just call it what it is. The V. Oh, right. That's what you mean. I wondered what you meant by that. The vaccine. Anatomy of an Epidemic. Certainly worth a read. I haven't read that. Sounds interesting, though. What's the time? 5:08. I still got time. I'm going out for dinner at 6. %. We're getting more people that like astrology. Let's go. The poll feature is cool. Nina is from Ireland. Awesome. I am from South Africa. Do you ever drink alcohol? Cheers, Bonbrack. Yes, I do, but I'm stopping because it doesn't do me well. Yeah, I played with it. This was again one of the things after I healed completely initially. I was like, I want to try everything again. I'm going to eat just food from a space of enjoyment. I'll eat sugary foods. I'll eat unhealthy foods. I'll watch TV. I'll do this. I'll do that. And that was good. I needed to kind of bounce out of this state of being very strict for so long. It was nice to give myself freedom. And a lot of that was drinking and socializing. But I mean, you get the feeling yourself of how things are affecting you. And personally, I don't feel that alcohol is beneficial for me. So I have decided to stop drinking alcohol. Personally. Do you live alone, Kingpin Gaming? Not currently. I'm staying with my parents and I should say my family. It's my parents and my sister and her boyfriend and 2 dogs. It's quite a cool space. My sister and her boyfriend are working a lot in the garden. It's nice. I often do stay on my own, which has its pros and its cons. It's a lot more quiet and nice for meditation, but it is, I mean, then being home is nice to be around people, but it's obviously less quiet and can sometimes have its pros and cons. So yeah, you just got to make the most of where you're at. First time watching it, I like the vibe. New subscriber here. Yay, thanks Mike, thanks for popping in. I've enjoyed your comments. Nice to have you. Aaron, so I always thought that astrology was silly, but I would be open to learning more about it and reassessing my opinion after that. Good perspective. I like it. I also used to think astrology was silly. And then I spoke with a lady. I've actually interviewed her on the channel. Her name was Maggie. And I loved some of her talking about awakening and all of that. And she was a professional astrologer. And she was the one that got me interested in astrology, because I was like, wow. And she had a PhD. She used to be an academic. She had a PhD in sociology. I was like, wow, someone with a PhD in sociology and someone who's very clearly, deeply realized with awakening, on the awakening path. It's like, maybe there's something there. So I went and started reading it more, and then I read like some of the stuff about me, and I was like, holy shit, this is accurate. And then, yeah, ever since then, I've found it very interesting. Yeah, the most accurate is if you have your birth time, then you get a much more detailed. So this was that I did like my birth time in some, and got my birth chart, and then you can get quite a detailed look at it. And there were so many things where I was like, it's like, wow, you're going to help people on their healing journeys. And I was already doing that, and I was like, what? That's crazy. There'll be things that, you know, it obviously depends on where you are on your path as well, where some things won't be that accurate anymore, but maybe were accurate in the past. And it's an interesting field. I find it very helpful for understanding your own conditioning and wiring and your own like strengths and weaknesses. Yeah, it was helpful for me to understand my kind of myself more, the sense of this is like one of my biggest things is avoidance and escapism. And when I read about that, I was like, oh shit, that's really true. And I read that from my astrology. And it's very, it's like a Pisces thing, and it's very true. It's our natural way to deal with conflict is to, or stress. My natural way to deal with stress is to avoid it and escape. I mean, obviously we all might have that tendency, but for different people, you're going to be more wired to a certain response or something. Nexie, when you're in recovery mode, what does your day typically consist of? Cool question. Obviously there were different phases, right? But I would say when I was like in the best period of recovering, when everything had come together, I was living on my own in an apartment, and I would like wake up in the morning, think I would go for a cold shower. Nobody has to live like this, but this is just when I got into like a really good, when I realized that cutting out all distractions and focusing on what was helping me heal was completely necessary. So I wake up, have a cold shower, meditate for like an hour, go for a walk in nature for like an hour, read a book about meditation, meditate some more, go for a walk, that kind of stuff. Meditate in the evening, go for another walk. I wasn't socializing, I wasn't working. Yeah, I just kind of made the things that were helping with my healing my priority. That was a phase in my recovery. So as I said, there were different phases, right? As life circumstances change, you know, I couldn't stay in that state forever. Chamor Fati, welcome. Health channel. My situation is I can't access fear anymore, and it's almost paradoxical in the sense that to feel fear, it's almost paradoxical in the sense that to feel fear to feel safe, but a normal person will feel fear when they feel fearful. I mean, don't make it into a problem, right? Whatever is coming up for us will shift over time, but the mind can turn anything into a problem. So the mind can turn fear into a problem, or it can turn no fear into a problem, right? It's all about how much we're getting identified with the thoughts that are coming up. So the mind will say, oh, I'm not safe now because I'm not feeling fear. Yeah, I kind of got what you meant. You need to feel fear to feel safe. But just look at the story that your mind is spinning there. That it's like, oh, because there might even be fear of not being a normal person then, or something. I don't know. David Person, love that you're open to talk about psychedelics. So my post-COVID is mainly heart-related. You said there's a high chance of physical soreness after a major trip. That's including the heart, I guess. I can't say exactly, just from my own experience that, and I've spoken with somebody else, that they actually started having a lot of like nervous system-based symptoms after not a chronic illness, but after like the trauma that was released from a psychedelic trip. Then it opened up the body having to process all of these physical symptoms. And I think everybody's going to experience it in a different place. So yeah, could be. It's often also like, what's our trigger points? You know, like if it's for you, it's the heart, then maybe there's going to come up stuff around there. Great answers, by the way. Glad to hear it. Yeah, I mean, another thing you could look at is, I mean, I don't know, this depends on how open someone is to it, is working with somebody who's good with energy. I know a lot of people won't like that. That's fine. But yeah, for me, seeing an energy healer, she helped to kind of find where there was like blocked energy in the body, which was helpful, honestly. Also like energy flow meditations. Joe Dispenza's got one called like the energy centers, can help specifically if it's like feeling blocked somewhere, like around the heart, like around the throat. Can even feel very physical, but these kind of things can really help as well. So that's something. But there are some people who are very good at working with energy. How long did it take you to heal? Interesting question because those questions are always interesting because um, so initially, I mean, I got sick around 2020, and then there's lots of phases, right? But I would say it was like 2.5 years later, I would say that I was fully recovered, and then I just started living again, and then but again, right, things are going to come up when they come up, right? So recently I started living a more stress-based lifestyle again, and then I ended up not feeling very good. And then it was like much easier to deal with, but difficult in a sense, because a part of me was like, oh no, I'm healed. I don't need to do anything. But at least I knew what to do. So yeah, I think the time that it takes everybody to work through this stuff is obviously going to be different. And it can fluctuate, right? You could be healed for a while, but then if you get pulled into certain things again, maybe it's not going to make you feel so great. I think there's a lot of energy and negative emotions when you're unwell. Yeah, and giving a lot of and fueling the energy of negative emotions can also keep you unwell, right? Because this is a beautiful thing about using brain retraining approaches and kind of positive emotional approaches. You can put energy into those kind of emotions, right? So like mind body healing techniques, you can put a lot of energy into cultivating feelings around gratitude when the mind naturally wants to put energy into negative emotions, and that can shift you from a state of unwellness to states of more wellness. Nexi, I usually meditate for around 15 minutes twice per day if I'm feeling overstimulated or stressed. Should I be meditating way more than that for longer? I mean, it's up to you. I started meditating a lot, but I won't tell anybody how long they should be meditating for. It's up to you. If meditating more is helping you feel better, then you can. And for me, what was motivating was hearing people that meditated a lot. Eventually, and meditation necessarily isn't going to be the only thing that you need, but hearing somebody like Ajay Shanti talk about how willing he was to let go of everything else and focus on the thing that was driving him towards freedom, you could say, motivated me. That I was like, oh wow, what is my excuse? But again, right, everybody's approach to this can be slightly different. So yeah, I like meditating for longer than that personally, but I like meditating a lot nowadays. Nowadays I meditate for like minimum an hour a day. There's been phases where I've been really busy, but then I can start to feel that I need de-stimulation time. Like now, I'll probably go meditate for a little bit after this because it's been a lot of talking. I always find talking like one of the most... It depends who I'm talking with, though. Talking with people who want to have very... conversations based in the mind and thoughts and past and future is often the most draining. Or people with a lot of like complaining or negativity. But if you're having even though I've had friends that I would have a very more conversations about the nature of reality and awakening, and that can also be very heady. So yeah, just talking in general. No, but it can be fun. But yeah, personally, I like a bit of silence. Funny for somebody who talks so much for a living. He says putting himself here online to purposely talk to everyone. As much time as it takes for you to let go of the gross material world in its ways. That's a great answer. Basically, egoic conversations. Yeah. Yeah, but I've also found you can open up to more authentic ways of communicating, even just from one side, right? Even if somebody else is coming at it from another side, the more we open up in ourselves, it invites somebody. We're not bouncing back a reflection of separation, of I'm holding distance here, I'm putting up an image. Somebody might not consciously realize this, but I've noticed where they might have been starting the conversation very much in their head because that's how they engage with everybody else. And then I'll have an unguarded conversation where I'm not busy planning what's the next thing I'm going to say, busy thinking, trying to stay up in the head, right? I'll just be empty. And some people might find that a bit disconcerting, but it often opens up to more authentic communication because it affects both people. It's interesting. All right, I'm going to go soon. I'll finish off with a little meditation. Next year, okay, I'll choose the computer for studies, entertainment, and so much. It's integrated into my life. I just don't really know what I'm going to do if I greatly reduce the screen time. I don't read books much, can't exercise much either. Well, personally, I found reducing screen time very helpful for myself. I feel like the screen is very stimulating. So, again, it's up to you. But if this is coming up, right, the fact that you're sharing this makes it likely that it's a point in your mind. Maybe a part of you is saying, I should reduce screen time, but a part of you is fighting with that. So, maybe you can't exercise much, but maybe you could just spend a little bit more time in nature, right? Maybe you could go for a short walk. Maybe you could go for a drive. These kinds of things, right? This is what I started doing before I could exercise a lot. And to take a break from a stimulation and shift myself into a new environment through a walk or a drive was very helpful. Yeah, just slowing down. Can be helpful. You can notice it can have effects. Yeah, and often we don't want to feel what it's like to not have a constant stimulating distraction. All right, cheers, Aaron. Nice to hear from you again. Have a good evening. Yes, it's an inner contradiction. If I'll try to take longer. Yeah, experiment with it. If you're afraid of it, then experiment with it, right? If a part of your mind's like, I don't know what I would do, then maybe experiment. What if I just take a longer break? Not saying you have to, but you can find what works. Okay, let's do a quick meditation. So we'll start with some deep breaths. Let your attention drop down into your lower body. Kind of feel into your lower abdomen. And just invite relaxation, right? Invite a letting go. Invite the body to, it's safe, it can relax. What tends to often happen with a lot of talking and a lot of stimulation is our attention gets kind of restricted to the head, to the upper parts of the body. And then we have contraction and resistance to letting go from that space, which is often the resistance we feel when we sit and meditate, why we're so addicted to thoughts. So taking some conscious deep breaths and focusing on the sensations in your lower abdomen, feeling some energy there, feeling some energy like in your lowest energy center, by your perineum, by your pelvic bone. Just inviting your attention to rest there a little bit can help to shift if you've been up in the head a lot. And then let's invite a feeling of gratitude. Can you be grateful for exactly what you're experiencing right now? Can you be grateful that you're exactly where you are in your life right now? Can you be grateful that we're all able to connect like this? That we're alive, that we're experiencing whatever it is we're experiencing. Sure, it's very easy to focus on what's wrong, right? I'm sick, I'm stuck, I'm lost, I'm confused. But we can really start to shift our state by just feeling gratitude for exactly what's here. You don't need to wait for your life to change to feel gratitude. You can feel gratitude now for what's here now, and then your life can change. Right? You can be like, I'm grateful for where I am, and how does that feel? How does it feel in your body to shift from this contraction of I need to fix, I need to change, I need to be better, to be like, I'm so grateful that I'm exactly who I am. I'm so grateful. And you can say that to yourself, even if you don't believe it. This is how you can start to retrain your mind. I'm grateful that I am exactly who I am. I'm grateful for my gifts and my weaknesses. I'm grateful for the path that life has taken me on, even if I can't see where it is taking me. I'm grateful for the challenges that are forcing me to grow. I'm grateful for the support that I'll find along the way, because you will find support. But if you're not willing to see it, you can easily feel like you're alone. But you're never alone. We're all walking this path together. And invite that feeling of gratitude into your body. And then start to be grateful for a life that you don't yet have. Right? So maybe you want to be healthier. Maybe you want to exercise more. Maybe you want more money. Maybe you want more love. I don't know. Start to imagine, what would that make you feel like, right? How would you feel if you had exactly the freedom that you wanted, right? If you had exactly the ability and health that you wanted, how would you feel? If in one moment life was like, okay, you can have it. Feel that now, even if it's not in your experience yet. Feel how it would make you feel. Feel that gratitude. Wow, how grateful would you be if you could just feel better instantly? It doesn't matter if you're not there, just imagine it. How would that make you feel? Wouldn't that be amazing? Right? And this is how you can get there, is by feeling gratitude now before it even happens. Gratitude is a powerful tool to shift our lives. So be grateful. Imagine having perfect nervous system. Wouldn't that feel great? What would you be feeling right now? What would you feel in your body? Doesn't it feel good? And you can feel that right now. And you can expand that in your experience, right? You can feel into that more. Like, oh, what is the sensation of gratitude? And the mind might be like, oh, but I'm not in that stage, right? I'm not where I want to be. Oh, that's just a thought. What if I'm grateful that that thought arose right now the way it did? What a crazy experience to just have a thought, right? When we believe the thoughts, they can seem so serious and scary and problematic. But if you just disarm them, oh, hello thought, welcome. Nice to have you visiting. Grateful that you're here. But man, feel that energy of you could literally have whatever you wanted in your life. You could be as healthy as you wanted to be. How would that make you feel? Run a thought experiment in yourself. And see, does it start to shift anything in your experience? Do you start to feel a little bit of excitement, gratitude, joy? And then, wow, those emotions came out of thoughts, right? You're just imagining a future where you're like, wow, let's imagine I woke up one day and I just had everything I wanted. That can make you feel joy and gratitude now. So same works with stress, right? You can imagine a future that doesn't exist and then make that your reality by getting stressed out to the point where you end up living in stress, right? So now we're switching that around. And this is kind of the power of mind-body healing. And, you know, it's not just for healing. You can use it for anything in your life. So let's finish it off with another way to access this is you just say things to yourself that are much more empowering, right? So for me, I would just often say to myself, I can do anything. Even when I felt like I couldn't, I can do anything. And just keep saying that to yourself. How does it make you feel? I can do anything. I'm healthy, I'm strong. Doesn't that make you feel a little bit differently? But you really have to be like willing to like do this properly, right? Just say like, I can do anything. How emotionally can you say that? How strongly can you say that to make your nervous system and your body believe it? The more willing you are to jump into this kind of stuff, even if your mind's like, oh, it's silly. Right? That's holding you back from what's possible. So you can shift your state now. You can shift your state now. You don't need to wait. You can do it now. I'm healthy. I can do anything. I'm free. You're already free. Right? You might have to work through some conditioning, but you can access that feeling now. All right. So remember that. Cool. Take a deep breath and just let it all go. Alrighty. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Yeah, that kind of stuff is powerful, and you can retrain it into your own nervous system. I hope that transmitted to somebody somewhere in the world. Yeah, let me know. Thank you. David Pearson, great meditation, love it. Restorative, love it. Let's end our astrology poll. 21 votes, wow, that's cool. 66% of people find astrology interesting. 33% find it nonsensical. Better results than I was expecting. Nice. Alrighty. I will see you all sometime again. Good luck with everything. Much love. Wishing you all exactly what you need. Hope you get exactly what you need and want. That you keep heading in the right direction. And that you know you're not alone and you're not stuck. You can always shift your state. You're welcome, Katie. Thank you for showing up. I love it. Great to have you here. It's always fun to hang out with everyone. It's fun, right? Because we can all be in our separate worlds saying like, oh, you know, I don't know anybody that can connect with this kind of stuff, but the internet's a cool place. Off to affirming in the cold water now. Love that. Enjoy. See ya. Thanks, Jamofati. Alrighty. All the best, everyone. See you soon.